Emma Watson came to promote her work, but Joy Behar came with accusations and ridicule. As the interview spiraled out of control, Emma's calm turned to fire, and what happened next left the studio breathless. The studio lights cast a soft glow across the stage, the audience buzzing with excitement as Emma Watson stepped into view. Her presence was composed and thoughtful, her sustainable fashion choice speaking to an understated elegance that balanced her fame with grounded purpose. She took her seat at the View's iconic table, prepared to discuss her latest thought-provoking drama, her upcoming work as a UN ambassador, and the power of using one's platform for social change. But Joy Behar, filling in as lead interviewer, wasn't smiling. From the moment Emma sat down, Joy's eyes didn't meet hers. She fumbled through cue cards, eyebrows knit in calculated indifference. The cameras began to roll, and the opening questions sliced through the warmth like ice. "So Emma," Joy began, voice flat with a sarcastic undertone, "another film where you teach us all a lesson, playing another principled woman fighting the system. Don't you think maybe, just maybe, it's time to try something else?" The air thinned, the audience blinked, unsure if they'd misheard. Emma's practiced smile remained, but the edges strained. She shifted slightly in her seat. "Well, Joy," she replied with a composure, "I believe stories that encourage critical thought and empathy are timeless. Each project offers a fresh conversation." Joy let out a scoff, loud, dismissive. "Fresh?" She cut in, folding her arms. "You've made the same speech 20 times with a different period costume. How long can you milk that formula before people stop listening?" Gasps were audible. Even the other co-hosts exchanged glances, some wide-eyed, others biting their lips. Emma breathed in through her nose, posture straightening. She knew the look Joy was giving her. She'd seen it before in boardrooms, press junkets, and media panels that saw her advocacy as a gimmick and her success as unearned privilege. "I've been acting and advocating for over a decade," Emma said, voice tight. "I've worked with brilliant teams to create stories and initiatives that reach people around the world." "That's not just a formula, it's a calling," Joy leaned back smugly. "Or maybe it's just branding, the world's conscience, perfectly phrased, carefully edited. You're not still pretending that's activism, are you?" The temperature in the studio dropped. Sunny Hostin visibly winced. Sarah Haynes looked toward the crew as if begging someone to intervene. But Joy wasn't finished. "What was the last role where you actually challenged your audience? No noble cause, no moral high ground, just acting." The tone was no longer skeptical. It was accusatory. Emma glanced briefly at the camera, then directly at Joy. "I'm here to talk about my work, not to defend my intentions. I came in good faith," she said slowly. "But this feels personal." Joy's eyebrows shot up in faux surprise. "Oh no, honey, this is just what people are thinking. I'm just the one asking." A hush swept over the audience. Emma's jaw tightened, but she didn't raise her voice, not yet. Instead, she placed her hands firmly on the table and said, "If this is what passes for journalism now, cynical remarks wrapped in questions, I think we're all in trouble." The camera caught a flicker in Joy's eyes, a flash of glee. She had provoked a reaction, and she liked it. But what she didn't realize was this: Emma wasn't backing down. She was just getting started. The studio felt different now. What had started as a routine celebrity interview had morphed into a slow-burning confrontation. Emma Watson, ever composed, adjusted her posture and locked eyes with Joy Behar. But Joy wasn't done. If anything, she was more energized, like a cat who smelled blood. She smiled, but it wasn't kind. "Creative control," Joy repeated, twirling her pen. "Is that what we're calling it now? Because it sounds more like you've just figured out how to make money off morality." Emma's brows lifted slightly. The audience murmured. Even producers behind the cameras looked toward the stage manager. Something was wrong, off balance. The other hosts sat silently, uncomfortable, unsure when or if they could step in. "That's a pretty reductive way to look at the work I do," Emma responded, now visibly tense. "I've built a career not just acting, but using that platform to advocate, to start conversations, and to amplify the voices of others, especially for young women who don't always get to tell their stories. Joy cocked her head like a disinterested ant. Oh, the activist narrative, of course. The enlightened trailblazer fighting for the little guy from her multi-million-dollar estate. The comment cut deep. There was an audible oof from the crowd. Emma's expression hardened. Her breath quickened, but she kept her tone even. That's not only dismissive, it's disrespectful. You can question someone's methods without mocking their sincerity. I didn't ask for this platform, Joy, but I was given it, and I choose to use it for a purpose. I faced scrutiny, typecasting, and yes, sexism, but I kept going, and I'm proud of that. Joy's smirk faded, but only slightly. Emma, she said, voice sharp, you give speeches at the UN that are broadcast globally. You release statements through publicists. You court attention for your causes and then complain when people question them. Isn't that a little contradictory? Emma blinked. You're confusing public advocacy with personal immunity. I don't script global issues. And frankly, you don't know anything about the work that happens when the cameras aren't rolling. But that's the thing, Joy snapped. Maybe people would respect you more if we did, because right now all they see is a Hollywood brand, red carpets, UN speeches, another serious film with the same message and no risk. Emma's voice dropped lower, a warning. I'm not here to be insulted under the guise of being questioned. That's not journalism, that's bullying. Joy leaned forward. You know what I think, Emma? I think you're used to sitting in rooms where people fawn over you, where no one challenges you, where every interview is a free platform for your cause. And the moment someone asks something real, you can't take it. No, Emma replied, voice rising slightly. I can't take being disrespected. There's a difference. You want respect, Joy shot back. Then earn it. Do something that matters. A gasp rippled through the audience. Emma's jaw clenched. Her hands clasped in front of her were now trembling slightly. Her voice was tight, controlled, but fierce. Let me tell you what matters. Funding girls' education initiatives matters. Promoting ethical and sustainable industries matters. Starting book clubs that empower millions and showing the next generation that you don't have to quiet your convictions to succeed, that matters. Joy chuckled bitterly. Right, and wearing a recycled dress to an awards show as a revolutionary act. That was it. Emma's chair scraped against the studio floor as she stood. The movement was sudden, startling. The audience audibly gasped again. She didn't storm off, not yet, but her voice grew louder. She wasn't speaking just to Joy anymore. She was speaking to everyone watching inside the studio and beyond the screen. You can disagree with me. You can critique the work, but you do not get to sit behind a desk and tear down everything I've tried to build like it wasn't sincere. You don't get to weaponize my background, my advocacy, or my career just to score shock value. And you don't get to act like you're speaking for the people when all you're doing is projecting cynicism. Joy raised her hands mockingly. Oh, poor Emma Watson. Rich, successful, educated, but still the victim. Emma's face flushed with anger, but this time it wasn't fragile. It was powerful. She stepped closer to the table, her voice firm and unwavering. You know what's really sad, Joy? That with all your years of experience, this right here is what you choose to do with your platform. You could uplift, challenge with dignity, or inspire, but you'd rather mock, tear down, and humiliate. Joy tried to interrupt, but Emma held up her hand. No, I'm not done. The entire room held its breath. You think this is journalism? It's cruelty, and I won't be part of it. And just like that, Emma turned back to her seat, lips pressed tightly, refusing to show another ounce of vulnerability. The studio was still, but the storm was far from over. There was a thick silence in the studio, almost unnatural. The air felt charged, like the moment right before a thunderstorm. Emma sat back down, composed but distant. Her face was like a mask, unreadable, unbothered. But her eyes told the real story. Fire, hurt, fury. Joy Behar, however, wasn't done. She leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes narrowed as if she were the one being wronged. Let me ask you something, Emma, she said coldly. Do you really think making another self-important film is more important than, say, bringing real issues to light? Or is it just easier to stick to scripts and speeches? Emma didn't flinch. What's easier, Joy? Dismissing someone's life work in 5 seconds because it doesn't fit your narrow definition of effective? That's lazy journalism, if you can even call this journalism. Joy chuckled darkly and glanced at the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Emma Watson, the world's moral compass. I guess next week we'll be hearing her TED Talk on world peace between scenes of her graduating from Hogwarts. The room gasped. Some audience members actually turned their heads in discomfort. Emma's composure cracked just slightly. Her lips parted like she was about to say something, but instead she leaned back, folded her arms, and stared at Joy with a look so sharp it could slice through steel. "You're not funny," she said. "You think this is clever. You think this is edgy, but it's just petty and cruel, and frankly, I think you're embarrassed by your own cynicism." Joy smirked again, but her eyes flickered. Emma had struck something. "Embarrassed?" she said, almost spitting the word. "I've interviewed world leaders, survivors of war, artists who changed history, and today I'm being lectured by a woman who spent a decade waving a magic wand." The insult hit hard. Even the production crew behind the camera looked stunned. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Emma stood again, this time slower, controlled, intentional. "And yet, here you are sitting across from me. You agreed to this. You could have taken the high road, asked questions with grace, but instead you became obvious and you came for blood." She stepped out from behind the table now, not in anger, but in authority. "You talk about world leaders. You talk about survivors. Great. But your behavior today, it's not serious. It's not noble. It's petty. It's insecure, and frankly, it's disgraceful." Joy raised her voice. "You want disgraceful? You parade your causes in magazines. You sell your ideals to brands, and then you come here crying about being misunderstood. You can't have it both ways. And you think this little stunt you're pulling right now isn't about getting clicks?" Emma fired back. "You planned this. You baited me because you knew attacking someone's convictions on national television would go viral." Now the audience was murmuring louder. Someone shouted, "Let her speak." Another, "This is too far." Joy turned to them and barked, "Oh, please spare me the theatrics. This is The View, not a fan club." That's when Sunny Hostin finally snapped. "Enough, Joy." Her voice was calm but firm. "This isn't journalism. It's a takedown, and it's not what this table stands for." The crowd erupted in light applause. Joy's face flushed. Emma's voice lowered, solemn. "I've spent my adult life building something. Through failure, through pain, through being told I'd never be more than a child actor, that I was too serious, too outspoken, too much, and now I sit here and listen to another woman, someone who should know better, try to reduce me to talking points and photo ops." She turned to the camera. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. "To every young woman watching this who's ever been belittled, who's ever been told they're too much, too ambitious, too emotional, I want you to see this moment. Not because it's easy to stand up for yourself, but because it's necessary." Joy tried one last time to claw back the conversation. "Emma, you're taking this way too personally." "How else am I supposed to take it?" she shot back. "You've insulted my work, my choices, my life's purpose, and you've done it under the disguise of just asking questions. But real questions come from a place of curiosity, not contempt." Another wave of murmurs. Several audience members stood, some filming, others just stunned. Emma walked to the edge of the stage now. The lighting caught her perfectly. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with unwavering resolve. This was never going to be a conversation. "Was it, Joy? You didn't want to know me. You wanted to break me." Then her voice softened dangerously. "But you forgot something. My purpose doesn't break." With that, she turned her back on Joy Behar. The host remained silent. The producers were frozen behind the glass. The entire studio seemed to hold its breath as Emma walked toward the exit, her heels echoing like a slow drumbeat of justice. She was almost gone. Almost. But the storm wasn't finished yet. Emma Watson was halfway to the backstage hallway when she suddenly stopped. The silence behind her was thick, dead air, broken only by the faint hum of overhead studio lights and the occasional shuffle of someone shifting in their seat. All eyes were on her back, waiting to see if she would leave completely or deliver one last blow. And then slowly, gracefully, she turned around. Her posture was straight, her chin held high. She was no longer just a celebrity reacting to a hostile interview. She was a woman standing in the storm and refusing to be shaken by it. She took 3 measured steps back toward the stage, not to her seat, not to Joy, but to the center. The spotlight quite literally found her again. "Before I go," she said, her voice clear, rich, unwavering, "I want to say one last thing." The audience leaned in. Even the camera operators adjusted their frames, knowing instinctively this was the clip the world would replay. They deserve questions, yes, but not ridicule, not ambushes, not hostility disguised as honesty. Joy Behar squirmed in her seat, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned pale. But for the first time, she had no comeback. Emma continued, "You tried to make me smaller today, Joy, but here's the thing about women like me. We've already walked through the fire of public opinion. We've already been doubted, rejected, laughed at, and told to sit down more times than we can count. And yet, here we are." She took one more step closer to the front row, where a little girl sat with her mother, her phone still recording. "You said my work isn't important, that it's not making real change. But you don't get to define what matters to people. Sometimes a book is the only thing holding someone together. Sometimes a character on screen gives a woman hope when everything else around her is falling apart. And sometimes, just sometimes, seeing someone use their voice is the only thing a young girl has to remind her that her own voice can be more than what the world tells her." The little girl's eyes welled up. Her mom reached over and gripped her hand. Emma's voice was firm now, but warm, empowering. "You tried to humiliate me, and instead you reminded me why I do what I do." She looked directly at Joy Behar now. Not with anger, not even with contempt, but with something far more cutting. Pity. "You think you're powerful because you sit behind a desk and ask questions. But real power, real impact comes from using your platform to uplift people, not to tear them down so you feel taller." The studio was dead silent. Even the crew in the control room had stopped switching angles. Everyone was locked in. Emma walked to the edge of the stage again one final time, and then she turned to face the audience and the camera. If you're watching this and you've ever been made to feel like you're not enough because of your voice, your looks, your choices, or your dreams, I want you to remember this moment. You are enough. You are worthy. And no one, no talk show host, no headline, no internet comment gets to decide your value. She looked directly into the lens. Her eyes didn't blink. Walk away from what doesn't serve you. Speak up when it hurts. And when they try to shame you into silence, speak louder every time. Speak. And with that, Emma Watson turned and exited the set. This time she didn't stop. She didn't look back. She didn't need to, because in a single walkout, she had done what few ever do in front of millions. She had transformed humiliation into empowerment. The studio remained paralyzed. Joy sat stiff, realizing that whatever script she thought she was writing, it had flipped. Sunny Hostin cleared her throat, visibly shaken. "Well, if you're just joining us," she said, "you may have missed one of the most important moments in the show's history." Cut to commercial. When the segment aired that evening, it spread like wildfire. Within hours, Emma's clip was trending in over 30 countries. Celebrities, activists, friends, everyone had something to say. Some called it a masterclass in grace under fire. Others called it the moment daytime television had its reckoning. But the most shared post came from Emma's own Instagram, captioned with just 5 words: "Let your voice be heard." So what do you think? Was Emma Watson right to walk out of The View, or should she have stayed and endured the tension to the end? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful moments, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their worth. For more stories like this, follow Celeb Courage Chronicles, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stand up and walk.